Hey guys, Drifter here, and welcome back to Bedside Media. Today, I want to talk about the premiere of Hazbin Hotel Season 2. This is one of Amazon's animated darlings that they plucked right out of YouTube and chose a pilot from VisiPop to turn into a feature-length series that's become one of their hottest animated products. So there was a lot of hype and a lot of expectations around Season 2, and as a brief preview for everything we're going to discuss here today, on technical merits, Season 2 has significantly improved over Season 1, though in terms of vibe check, which to me is almost as important, it came across a little bit odd, a little bit off-putting. So we'll talk about these good things and technical merits first, and then the vibe check near the end.
Or more.
Moving on. Now,
so the first thing I wanted to talk about is that the animation this season looks a lot better this time around. It might be a little bit more glossy than the original, which depending on your artistic taste can be a good or bad thing, but it's certainly a lot more polished. It's a lot more professional. It's a lot less rough around the edges because it's not being created by a truly independent studio anymore. VisiPop has A24 and Amazon, and they've got just all this money coming in from various sources, a bunch of different producers, so they've got a big animation studio. So it looks really, really good, though it does lose some of that sort of indie edginess. And I think that musically speaking, they very much tightened up their tone and professionalism. One of my biggest gripes with any piece of media is that the first few minutes of it are supposed to tell you how to analyze, how to enjoy, how to get into the right mindset for things. And for the most part in Season 1, this was not done properly. The songs were just kind of smashed in wherever they would fit, so the tone would shift a lot. And very importantly, the pacing on the music itself is a lot better, but still imperfect. So Season 1 had this problem where you could get insane whiplash, where a character will talk and spend 7 minutes of a 26-minute episode talking to another character, explaining their motivations or what the scene is about or what's going on. And then they'll just stop and sing a song about exactly what they just talked about. This was most clear to me in Season 1, where we meet Adam for the first time and he's introduced as an antagonist. He very clearly explains his motivations and what he's going to do, and then when Charlie doesn't like it, he takes a break to sing a song about the exact same thing, and this kind of problem only got worse as the first season went on. However, I can give VisiPop some grace here because I know she had to rush to get to certain parts of the story, and all of this is based on a YouTube pilot and trying to scale up her studio and survive the ins and outs of, managing an Amazon original while constantly rushing to put out Season 1. So it was really nice to see that in Season 2, for the most part, they take more advantage of it being a musical and not having to repeat a conversation via song, and for the songs to better fit what's going on in the story. So in terms of pacing and structure, all of that's really good. All of the songs fit. Most of the songs are very kind of Disney adjacent, kind of parody, kind of sing-songy or old-timey, with the exception of my favorite in Season 2, or Season 2, Episode 2, which was Gravity, where the angel Lute is basically having a mental breakdown and imagining her dead, not even boyfriend Adam giving her advice while she sings about the gravity of her actions and the consequences going on. It's a very emo song, very sort of out of place compared to the rest of the episode, but I found it to be their overall most entertaining song. So yeah, we've got great voice acting, we got better pacing, we got better animation, we got better musicals.
why is it so positive? This is the news, honey. If we aren't scaring people with the title alone, it's not worth running.
But I got to admit, the plot is losing track of the focus. So in terms of plot, the first 2 episodes contain almost none of the actual hotel of Hazbin Hotel, and very few moments with the main cast from the first season. We spend a very small amount of time seeing Charlie grieve the death of Sir Pentious, which was at the finale of the previous season, and then we get an entire 30-minute episode of Sir Pentious in heaven, and he's a great character and all. I like Sir Pentious, but ultimately he was a side character in the first season and appears to possibly be the actual main character in this season so far. I would have to ask a question like, what is Alistair up to? Well, we don't know because he's barely in the first 2 episodes, despite being the driving force of the plot in the pilot and in the first season. What's Vaggie up to? Well, she's trying to come up with a new name for herself, and that's kind of all we got. Angel Dust? barely exists. He just seems to kind of be there for some dirty jokes. Same kind of thing with the rest of the actual crew of the hotel. Lucifer gets 1 minute of screen time. In the first episode, we get 15 to 20 minutes of the V's, which is kind of interesting and fun, and I admit necessary to set up the villains of the season, but they're not really the ones I wanted to see the most of. And then after that first episode, we get a full 28 minutes of drama in heaven, which I originally would have said would be nice, but now after experiencing it, I'm really rethinking these old opinions. I think it would work a lot better if we got small snippets of heaven that largely left the denizens of hell guessing as to what heaven's response would be to this potential upcoming war. Instead, I would say the main focus of this season is all about the characters and drama of heaven. We met a bunch of angels, we met Abel, the voice of God, or the speaker for God might be the actual character name, the big beautiful bird lady. And it's all very interesting, and I think good in small doses, but I didn't exactly sign up for all that. I wanted to learn about hell and the Hazbin Hotel and what's going on down there. And then finally in the plot section, I feel that what we're missing out on is the infinite gambit from the pilot episode, which is still on YouTube, which was the most evil demon in hell wants to help this Hazbin Hotel because he thinks it'll be delightfully fun to watch sinners try and improve themselves only to fail over and over and over again, like Oedipus pushing that rock up a hill. So Alistair's foil in this proposition is Charlie, who is infinitely hopeful, and she believes she can redeem souls that are already lost. And, well, we've kind of already proved that happened at the end of the last season, and very much so in the beginning of this one. So it's already Alistair is wrong and Charlie is right, and that sort of philosophical argument is kind of wrapped up here. So Alistair shifts his goals into playing an entirely different game. Now that's appropriate for the character, but it may not be as appropriate for the type of entertainment that I wanted from this. I wanted more interactions between those two. And then finally, at the end of this video, I want to do a little bit of a vibe check.
Good vibes.
And the main vibe I have to ask is, where did the edge go? I do tend to enjoy my media more edgy most of the time, and I would have considered Hazbin Hotel Season 1 to be kind of edgy. As my wife describes it, theater kid edgy. It's for that 16 to 21-year-old, late high school, early college crowd. They're theater kids. They want to be as edgy as they can be. The first season kind of had that vibe. You had real demons, real evil monsters. You had characters addicted to drugs, addicted to gambling, addicted to murder, addicted to adult entertainment work was a big section of the plot. And it showed how all of these coalesce and create grievous and dangerous sins and how these characters struggle to overcome them and things like that. This season seems significantly less edgy. The jokes are less dirty, it's less violent, it's less raw, the characters are more happy, they're already improving in the hotel, they have significantly less flaws, they're significantly more predictable in their actions.
When you see her, can you ask her if she's still up for the therapy session today? I'm kind of getting into talking about feelings and junk.
And I think some of that also has to do with, in terms of the plot, Charlie has been validated. So instead of being the underdog that has to fight uphill this entire time, she is now sort of, always been the princess of hell, but now the princess of hell that gets a ton of attention drawn to herself for being right. Everybody wants a piece of Charlie, and she's really struggling to deal with the success more than struggling to deal with her long series of failures. So it all did feel very clean and not the sort of edgy, sort of out there on the fringes kind of attitude like it had in the past. Although I will say that probably got radically skewed by the fact that we had an entire, probably the majority, the biggest chunk of this first 2 episodes was the heaven arc, which again, not necessarily bad, but that skews the tone of the show away from being edgy, demonic, dark, hellish, whatever, and sort of cleans it up in a little bit of a way that wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So yeah, when it comes to Hazbin Hotel Season 2, it has improved significantly on a number of technical merits, including music, pacing, structure, voice acting, animation quality especially. It's looking good. It's looking very, very promising. Unfortunately, the initial plot developments and vibe checks have been kind of weird for me, though I do suspect, I'm going to continue watching, of course, and hold out hope, I suspect that's a little bit more of a setup, that this is, we have to do these things to set up other events that will happen later in the plot, and we just kind of have to get through it here in the beginning.
That was a productive meeting.
Guys, that is all for this episode of Bedside Media. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, or subscribe. Would probably be the most helpful thing in the world. And I'll be back next week with some other opinion on some other type of fun media. Drifter out.